Good morning. This is the November 17th, 2022 meeting of the Syracuse Board of Review. This hearing is being held via teleconference call, WebEx, at the following location: Hughes State Office Building, 333 East Washington Street, Main Hearing Room, first floor, Syracuse, New York, 13202. The time now is 10 10:08, and this hearing is officially open. Members of the board are to my right, Andrew Garlock, to my far left, Jeffrey Hinderfelter, and to my left, Gail Swistak. My name is C. Thomas Parsons, chairman of this board. And from the Department of State, we have Mr. Thomas DiTullio. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on the matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. We are going to be hearing following cases. Petition number 2022-0350 for 20 The Byway. Petition 2022-0379, 11 The Byway. Petition 2022-0383, 4 The Byway. And petition 2022-0385, 6 The Byway. These cases are being reopened as they were adjourned in our July meeting, waiting for some consensus and further information regarding the request for the appeal, as well as the request, if the appeal is not granted, for a variance. So the board has received additional information, particularly what piece of information we were looking for is to see if there was some consensus on what might be a variance look like for the byway as a street as a whole, as it affects particular properties that are part of this hearing or hearings. And we are also looking to hear comments from the fire department and the code enforcement official relative to these cases as to their sense of support or non-support of any variance that might be considered to be granted. So as we start, I want to take a moment and give each party a chance to speak relative to their case. And so we'll start with petition number 2022-0350. This is 20 The Byway, the Mullers. And do you have any additional information, or would you like to make an additional presentation to the board that we've not already received?
Yes, I would like to. My name's Dana Mueller. I live on 20 The Byway, and my wife Ann is here. I just wanted to say the petition for the document of the map allowing 12 feet of space throughout the byway, I agree to that. Right now, I have with a car there, it's 10 feet. So I'm going to have to move back my property another 2 feet. Also means I'm going to have to move back my water pipe access to the main. But I don't mind that. I'll do that to make it safer for the road and my neighbors. I've already spent in excess of $5,000 improving the road, and I'm willing to do this too. I think it'll be enough. I think, unfortunately, when the fire chief was here, he had his truck here. He was able to get around the whole byway. I wanted him to try to get the access through the bridge access. I think he could do that. And then his problem of making it around the corner would be gone because he could come in through two different entries. That's all I wanted to add. You have all the other thing. I have only lived here for 60 years, my family. The property's 1830s. We live by a creek. I'm doing as much as possible I can to enlarge the road to make it safe. but I'm running out of space. I don't know what else to do. I have 10 feet in front of my house to hit the road. I'm willing to take away another 2 feet to try and make it even better. Do you have anything else to add, Ann?
Just that when the other people on the byway proposed some safe parking and spaces that they need, we agreed with their proposals.
Okay, well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Okay.
you for listening.
Okay. So just, could you do for a court reporter, could you just state, your name? Well, let me check with the court reporter. The court reporter, did you copy their names correctly? Do you understand them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
We are now going to hear, the applicants, for petition number 2022-0379, Holden Gardner, 11 Byway. So representatives, or the parties, if you have additional presentations or statements you'd like to make, this is your time.
Thank you. This is Russell Maines, attorney for Mr. Holden and Professor Gardner, the appellants. Thank you for considering this matter. We believe that there should be no variance required, that under the circumstances that have been proposed, that safety concerns have been adequately dealt with. However, we certainly don't object to a variance being granted if the board deems that necessary. I would, for matters of preserving the record, request that Mr. Muller's comments in the related appeal be incorporated by reference into our own. He has already stated that he is willing very kindly to provide a couple of concessions, and we appreciate that. He's been a very good neighbor. We believe, we understand, and we're sympathetic to the fire department that the layout of this road do present some challenges, but we also understand that based upon some additional review by the Hugo Heights Fire Department, that those concerns were adequately dealt with. I certainly don't speak for the fire departments, and I imagine they'll want to be heard, but these folks have done everything that they should do in terms of working with the local government, state government, providing adequate notice. They've provided a safe residence for the people who are in the neighborhood, and they provided 4 spaces, which is the amount required by the local code, and those are off street. So at this point, I'll defer to Mr. Holden. He might have some additional comments to make.
No, thanks. Russ, that was very well said.
Mr. Holden, do you have further comments or?
Oh, sorry, this is Jeff Holden. I was just saying that I thought Russ laid it out very clearly. I think I appreciate all of the cooperation from the Cayuga Heights Fire Department and the board and the Department of State of trying to coordinate things in the town. You know, when the fire department came out here, they were able to passively make it around with cars on the road. The ladder truck, which we knew was going to be a problem, was not blocked by cars. It was blocked by other impediments, and a fire lane or blocking parking doesn't seem like the solution there. And I think we can maintain the road and do a better job. And I think we haven't done that, but cutting back bushes, cutting branches, filling potholes, clearing snow would really make the emergency vehicles jobs more easier if it need be. But again, we cut back we already cut into our property to create a parking space. That was at great expense, and I think that we've provided a good situation for safety here on the byway, and we can maintain that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's Russ Maines again. I do see that Professor Gardner has made it on. She might have some additional comments. She's shaking her head no, so I guess not. Thank you.
Let me just take a pause here. Is there any questions from board members? Either the Mullers or Holden Gardner? Okay.
What is the, Mr. Holden, you stated that you excavated into your property to create a parking space. What is the dimension of that parking space?
Sorry, this is Jeff Holden speaking again. Do I have that in all of this paperwork? It's 4 feet by, I want to say 30 feet, perhaps. So with a typical car, there would still be a lot of room. I think it's over 16 feet on the other side of the car. And, you know, I think all of the cars here are parking on the road. So I think it seems adequate to me, the parking that we have. And I think if we trim back some of the bushes, it would make for more transiting capability for fire or emergency vehicles, and also room for people to operate. I don't know, Maggie, if you have that number in front of you or for us.
I'm checking. I'm at the moment, I'm going to just have to give a qualified statement. I believe that Mr. Holden's statement about 4 by 30 is accurate, but I'm checking to confirm that that's accurate. If somebody else can, I don't want to hold people up. If somebody else has anything else to say on this matter, I'll try to chime in later.
I have two questions to the Holdens. One is, you mentioned that there was an impediment that was there, not related to width of the street, that prevented the fire department from accessing the byway. Could you explain what that impediment was?
I believe, I mean, we could confirm this with Fire Chief Tamburell, but I believe he did not want to proceed around the corner because the bushes, the privet there was against his truck, and he didn't want to do any damage to his emergency vehicle, understandably, to pass it with the ladder truck. The fire engine or first responding engine, Fire Chief Tamburell would have to correct me, did pass around that corner.
Okay. All right. Thank you. One other question. So it seems that there were building permits of which state issued variances to both your property and to Mr. Muller's property. In regards to your property, this you applied and received a variance for street width because of the change of use and improvements that you made to your barn to turn it into a residential to a dwelling unit. Is that correct?
So we applied for a variance because we had increased the state. First of all, this was not a variance that was required of us when we applied from our original building permit, or when we had been under construction. So we've been under construction for a while, and Marty Mosley, the director of code enforcement for the town, contacted us and asked us to seek a new variance because we have a roof over top of our entryway for the barn. Before, it was just steps straight into the barn, and we put a roof there because we thought it might be nice to have the snow and the rain blocked when you're opening your door. And so that's why we sought a variance.
Okay.
Because we had changed, I guess ostensibly because we had changed the footprint of the property which is a variance that we originally sought when we did the variance hearing with the town. So we had a variance for that with the town because we added that 4x4 platform, which is 16 square feet, which, I mean, you guys all know we had to do because it had a roof over it. If there were no roof over that step or platform, it wouldn't have been considered an enlargement or a porch, whatever that's defined as architecturally.
Okay.
So we were well underway when we were told we had to do that, and we had sought and received the variances that we needed or thought we needed when we set out to build the property.
When did you change your barn from a storage barn to a dwelling unit? What year was that?
This year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're going to move on, and we may come back to this petition again with more questions, but let's move on to petition 2022-0383, and this is for the byway. Levine, do you have any additional information, or would you like to make a presentation with additional statements to the board?
This is Caroline Levine for the byway. I defer to my lawyer, Dirk Galbraith, if he wants to add anything. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Mr. Galbraith, do you have anything you'd like to?
Yes, sir. I think there are some legal issues concerning this matter, the authority of the town to regulate parking on a private road, which, if the variance is granted, don't really need to be addressed.
Okay. Without further statements from regarding for the byway, we'll move on to petition number 2022-0385. Six the byway. Hubner.
Hi, I believe Jeff Holden has his hand up to add to his statement before I speak.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jeff. Maggie is unable to speak. Her microphone is not working, but she asked me to correct the record that for number 11, that we converted it into a unit in 2021, an accessory dwelling unit in 2021, not 2022.
Okay, thank you for
clarifying.
clarifying.
Sorry for the error.
No, that's not a problem. Understood. Okay. So just a couple questions for Six the byway. You have no off-street parking.
Excuse me, can I first just make a presentation? Is that all right?
Oh, yes, I thought you were, I'm sorry, I thought that you didn't have anything to present. Go ahead, please.
No, so this is Carolina Hubner for myself and my partner, Justin Steinberg at Six the Byway. And we just wanted to reiterate that we're fully supporting the joint parking proposal that was put forth by the residents. We are obviously very much, I think everybody is very much concerned about the fire safety issues here, and none of us want to put our families in danger. At the same time, we are having to deal with a neighborhood that is very limited by natural features like the creek, and by the layout of the streets, and by the historic nature of the properties. And we will do our best, now that we know about these issues, we are relatively new to the neighborhood, to maintain our hedges and widen access in front of our property for vehicles, and snow maintenance and snow removal maintenance and all that. But at the same time, we only have a barn in the back where we could park, but we have to traverse Cornell property. And not having the street parking would make ordinary life quite difficult for us, because it means we couldn't have family visit or friends visit or even handyman visit, because they would have nowhere to park. So not to mention if we ever wanted to get a second car. So it's just, it would be quite a hardship for us to have to give up this parking space. That's it. Thank you. Do you want to add anything, Justin?
Oh, wait, I think there was a question, so I'll.
Yeah, I just want some clarification. I think we understand that there is no off the byway or off the street or off the drive parking for 6 the byway. I just want to confirm that. You have no
No,
other.
there is,
That's right. This is Justin Steinberg. Yeah, there's no off-street parking. What we have is a barn around the back, which doesn't have as a primary function a parking space, but in a pinch, we can clear it out and use it to park our car. But when we purchased the house, it was with the understanding that there was parking in front, and we currently don't use the barn for a garage. And as Carolina pointed out, in order to access it, we actually have to go through Cornell property. And we haven't received any formal permission to do that.
Do you have an easement through that Cornell property to your barn, or is that not available?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. I just want to just have any questions?
Yeah. So it shows on the drawings, and I think in one of the pictures, there is a concrete walkway sidewalk that runs in front of 2, 4, 6, and in front of 10. Does anyone formally own that sidewalk, concrete walkway? What's the arrangement of that?
So the sidewalk in question, actually, as far as I can recall, it ceases before 6th the byway. No?
No, I think it's beyond our property line. I think it's part of the street itself, if I'm correct, if I have it right. And Jeff is signaling that I'm correct.
Appendix 1 byway parking map that was submitted identifies a 2-foot concrete walkway that after number 6, the byway transitions to an 18-inch, 1.5-foot concrete walkway. So is that not a walkway? Is it actually part of the street, or is it a walkway?
So in front of I can't speak to other properties, but in front of our house, it's a very small walkway that's right now basically covered by hedges. So we are committed to cutting the hedges back to expose that, and then we could park on, and when we park, we do park the wheels, the one, 2 of the wheels we park on that sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I want to step back to For the Byway, which is petition 083. You do not have off-street parking or off the byway parking, is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you also have a walkway that goes in front of your property?
Yes, I do. I have it's a very narrow concrete slab that runs in front of bushes in front of my property.
And who maintains that walkway?
There is no agreement, as to my knowledge, as to maintaining that walkway. Each of us we have collective responsibility for the byway as we understand it for maintaining the road, but the walkway has never come up.
And I'm not sure who put together this plan or the drawings, but on the dimensions that you show on your proposal, do they exclude the walkway or do they include the walkway? Is the cars parking on the walkway, or is it the cars staying off the walkway? There's a 12-foot width between that and I think it's 130 Forest Home Drive. Was that 12-foot include the vehicle being parked on the walkway, or does it not?
Let me ask that to Jeff Holden because he was the one who did the measurements.
Okay.
No, it does not include parking on the curb.
So if vehicles were parked on the walkway, if they were up on that concrete slab, would that increase the width by a couple feet?
Potentially, yes.
Okay. What do you do, again, I'll leave it, maybe I'll just ask Mr. Holden. What happens in the wintertime? Where's the snow storage? Is it pushed to the side? Is it stored in a, in front of one property or another? How is snow managed? Say when you get a 2-foot snowstorm, where does the party that clears your snow for the byway, where do they put it?
They plow it to a number of places, obviously, because of the shape of the road and the tight property or tight, structure to the or small setbacks. So they'll pile it down at the end of the byway by the utility poles. They'll push it around the back. The plow driver also clears to the back. They'll push it wherever they can, but it's not removed in a dump, like in a bed of a truck or anything like that. And then on the places that border the creek, the snow naturally will plow down there, I guess, because of the way that the driver tilts the blade of the snowplow.
So one of my, and this is for Mr. Holden, but anybody else can speak up to it. One of my concerns, if a variance was granted to be lesser than the actual width of the street and to allow parking, is the road with parking even made worse, narrower? Your proposal indicates 12 feet, but if snow's parked, piled, or stored along the side of the street, that potentially could move the vehicle 2 foot or more inward towards obstructing the lane even more. So this was the question, is there a way to manage snow in such a way that the width of the street can be maintained if parking was permitted?
Well, this is Jeff Holden at number 11. I guess my answer to that would be, because of places where the cars are parked are the tightest, that's where snow is naturally moved away from the road, because the cars need to be able to access, entry and exit. So usually when we have a big snow, everyone's out there digging out their cars. Now, I would be willing to commit to pushing that snow, or working with the plow driver and pushing that snow. But everyone's pretty vigilant about digging themselves out and calling the snowplow driver when they're dissatisfied with the plowing.
Okay. And one final question for me is signage. If your plan was accepted as part of a variance, how would you sign to the street to indicate where their parking would be allowed and where parking wouldn't be allowed? And who would be responsible for that signage?
This is Russ Maines. I think that my clients would have no objection to placing signage adjacent to their property indicating that there is no parking in the street, no blocking of the street. Parking is to be within the parking area, and whatever else is reasonably necessary to make sure that the area is clear.
Okay. Thank you. Let me just poll the board. See any other questions to our applicants?
Yes, this is Andrew Burlock. I have a question as it relates to the ownership of the byway as a private road. How, the ownership structure, who owns the byway, and what the easements, if any, look like for all of the properties on the byway. And if there are easements, how descriptive are they? What do they say? That's a very broad question, so we might have to go.
I believe there. I'm at the moment looking at a deed and an attached survey map with respect to six the byway. It does indicate that the concrete walk is private drive. It's part of it, it's adjacent to the drive that's shared in common with the others. Regardless of what the legal documentation says, I think based upon the testimony today, that the neighbors have sort of taken upon themselves to have a shared responsibility for maintaining access to the private drive, and nobody's objected to that. I think somebody will probably step in if I'm incorrect.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Means. I'm going to ask, let me just, I think the fire chief is here in our meeting, and as well as the code enforcement official. So let me ask the code enforcement official, Mr. Mosley, if he would like to provide any further comment, or some board members may have some questions for him. But I'm looking at the comment regarding the appeal, and then the comments regarding a potential variance. So, Mr. Mosley?
I don't have anything to add to this. I believe you've received everything from our office. I don't have a position on this, as I believe that the variance board has the power and authority to override the New York State Fire Code, as I typically do. Again, I didn't state my name for the record. My name is Marty Mosley. I'm the Director of Code Enforcement for the town of Ithaca at 215 North Tioga Street, Ithaca, New York, 14850.
Okay. Let me see, any questions for the code enforcement official from board members?
I thought I read somewhere in the documentation, Mr. Mosley, that you were opposed to granting the variance. Did I misread that?
No, I don't believe I've ever said I've been opposed to the variance. I've never taken that position specifically, no.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I have a question about the enforcement of a parking plan and the town's view on, who would be responsible for the enforcement of the parking?
Well, the Tompkins County Sheriff's Department would have a role in the enforcement provision of that, no different than in the event that a fire apparatus access road was blocked. Those are the agencies that would respond to and enforce that provision legally in conjunction with my office.
Mr. Mosley, the number 11 indicated that they started their project, were issued building permits, and the issues that kind of we're discussing today, that variances were needed, came up after the fact. Could you elaborate on your code review and how on your side, administratively, how this unfolded for us?
Sure, I can tell you that I did not specifically review this. I had a staff member, a code official, review this specific project. It came about as 20, the byway, was proposing to increase a portion of their area. In reviewing 20, the byway, I asked my code official, in the event that they had conducted a review on 11, the byway, that they had reviewed section 503 that would apply. They had indicated they did not. I said we now need to go back and review this because I believe it's applicable at this point in time. And since we are requiring 20 the byway to obtain a for this process, we now need to request and require 11 the byway to do the same.
Okay. We may come back to you in just a moment. I have let me just see. Mr. Bensel, I see your hand raised. We will get to you in just a moment. I want to go to Fire Chief Tamburello. We've received 2 communications, one initially, and then subsequent an email that you recently sent regarding fire lanes and access to the byway. Do you have anything you want to add to your written statements?
George Cameron, Fire Chief, the department at 194.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tamburello is breaking up.
Yeah, Mr. Tamburello, your signal, your internet signal is a little rough. We're only getting every other word.
Better at all?
Nope, you're still breaking up.
Mr. Tamburello, you might want to call in. Maybe that'll help.
You could also try turning your video off, and the audio may clear up if the video is off.
Is that better? The video off?
Yeah, you're still breaking up. Do you want
Okay,
to disconnect and retry to connect again? We'll wait for you. Okay, we'll give Chief a few moments to see if we can get reconnected. Let's see. While the chief's trying to get reconnected, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak regarding any of or either of these cases? I see Mr. Benzel, if that's correct, your hand is raised. So let's go with you first.
Thank you. My name is Seth Pinsel. I live at 16 The Byway.
Is that any better?
I'm sorry. Yes, we can hear you better. I'm just going to have you hold for a moment. We have no speaking. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Menzel.
Okay. So just to start in kind of reverse order here, regarding snow, it does end up piled along the edge of the road in many places. For example, in front of 10 The Byway, where on one side there's a sidewalk on the west side, and then on the east side there is a stone wall that is the western edge of 11 The Byway's property. So of course, snow ends up piled along that stone wall. So that does effectively narrow the road in that area in front of 10 The Byway, by up to 1 or 2 feet, depending on how heavy the snow is and how much time it has to accumulate before it melts. The fire hydrant on the byway, the only hydrant, is on my family's property at 16 The Byway. We have always taken responsibility for shoveling out the fire hydrant itself, and that is always done the same day as a snowfall. So there isn't an access problem to the fire hydrant. We have also trimmed all the vegetation around the hydrant, and we have asked for Mr. Tamburello's opinion on that, and he said access to the hydrant area was adequate. This was on September 27th when the Cuba Heights Fire Department came by with a few fire engines. Our family submitted a proposal, which we called the byway proposal. The Improving Emergency Vehicle Access to the Byway. And we incorporated for reference at the end of our proposal this joint parking proposal that some of our neighbors have signed. There are important differences between these proposals. The joint parking proposal, if implemented, would prevent fire engine access to our family's home at 16 The Byway. It should be noted that on the day of this fire truck demonstration, September 27th, there was a vehicle parked in front of 4 The Byway and a vehicle parked in front of 20, and it is true that fire engines made it past those vehicles. However, there was no vehicle parked in front of 10 or 11, and a fire engine could not make it past a vehicle parked at those locations. My family included as part of our proposal photographs of vehicles parked in front of 10 and 11 The Byway, and you can clearly see that a fire engine is not going to make it past those vehicles. There are a number of measurements that are provided in the map with the joint parking proposal. That is the very last page of our proposal. We incorporated that for reference. Many of those measurements are inaccurate. In general, for the measurements between our property and 11 the byway across the street, the measurements on the joint parking proposal map overstate the road width by about 3 feet. So you can see this on the corrected map we provided with our proposal following the text. I believe that is page 8. It's Exhibit 1. So when they have a car parked in front of 11 the byway, and you can see on their map they would like to park 2 vehicles there. When they have a car parked there, the actual distance from the very back of their parking space, the south side, to the other side of the road in front of our house is about 17 feet. Now that's with no car parked there. That is simply from the northern edge of the road to the stone wall that is the southern edge of their parking space. Their parking space is dug out 4 feet into their yard. That's 4 feet off the edge of pavement as marked on their survey. As marked on their survey, the edge of pavement begins at the base of their stone steps. That's right below this arrow where we wrote 13 feet, just to the right of their vehicle parking. So they have a 4-foot dugout parking space. It's 4 feet off the road, but cars are of course much wider than that, and they do not park flush against the stone wall. They would damage the cars, they couldn't open doors. So in practice, they park 1 or 2 feet out from the stone wall and 5 or 6 feet into the byway itself. When they are parked in that way, which is very typical, right now there's a tenant parked there part of each day and all of each night. When there is a vehicle parked in front of 11 the byway in the parking space they would like to use for their variance, there is no more than 8 feet of road width between the very edge of that vehicle and the northern edge of the byway. This is not adequate for a fire engine to pass, especially considering it will be making a turn around the old well to the northwest corner of their property. This difficulty they have with parking at 11 the byway is self-created. When they bought their property, it did not have an accessory dwelling unit above their garage. They chose to build that. And following that construction, they decided they wanted tenant parking. We provided an exhibit along with our proposal showing a rental advertisement that they sent around to many Cornell email addresses advertising exterior parking available for their tenants. Prior to this project, constructing accessory dwelling unit, they typically did not park in the street. They have a 2-car garage in front of their home. They did not need to park in the street before they built the accessory dwelling unit. So they have this self-created difficulty where they now desire tenant parking. If they have tenant parking where they are requesting it, my family loses access to fire protection. It's that simple. If we had a fire in the middle of the night, we would have to go across the street, ring their doorbell, try to get them to move their vehicle. If there was also a vehicle parked in front of 10 the byway, we'd have to do the same thing over there. This is not practical in an emergency situation. Briefly referring to 10 the byway, I understand perhaps you're not taking up their variance request today, but they have a 2-car garage behind their house and an additional off-street parking space next to that garage, a total of 3 easily accessible off-street parking spaces that in fact they use. They do not typically park in front of their house at 10 the byway. We do oppose their being granted a variance as well as 11. Both those households have off-street parking available, which they use. My family has a 1-car carport available, which we use. We have not parked in the street in over a year. We have always prioritized emergency vehicle access over parking in the street. Our position is that these 3 households, 10, 11, and ourselves, 16, should be limited to street parking only in an emergency or absolute necessity situation. For example, contractors, for a large project or roof replacement with nowhere else to park. But otherwise, we have no reason to be parking in the street. And if a household such as number 11 wishes to add tenant vehicles to the byway, we believe they should provide fully off-street parking for those vehicles, which would mean either in their garage or they could dig their parking space deeper into their property so that it was actually off-street. Right now, again, it is only less than half off-street, practically speaking. Excuse me, I took some notes while others are speaking. So that is, in essence, our position. We are not opposing the variances being requested by 4 or 6 or 20, but 10 and 11 and ourselves, we believe because we have convenient off-street parking, we should be expected to use that and not park in the street. We believe it should be possible to coordinate access in the rare event that, for example, 10 or 11 or ourselves need on-street parking available briefly, for contractors and such. And we propose that be allowed only during business hours and only when the vehicle's owner is on the property and available to move it in case of an emergency. In practice, we expect this to be a very rare event. Again, our family has made do with a one-car carport for years and almost never parks in the street. And with that, I'll defer to George Tamburello. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Menzo. We're going down to Chief Tamburello. Chief, here's okay?
I can hear you. How about me? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. I think I've made my position very clear multiple times. Any parking along the byway really hinders access to the byway. There was a conversation about the turn at the corner by number 11 and number 16. Did the millstone get moved and the hedges get cut back? Because even with the engine, that was a very tight turn. We ended up riding the wheels up onto the landscaping, I would call it, at the millstone on the inside of the turn, and we were running into the shrubs in front of 16. So that was some of the conversation that we had. My other question or comment kind of mirrors what Chief Parsons said, was that as soon as you start putting snow onto the byway, if there's snow, all the cars would have to move, the snow would have to be cleared back, all the cars put back in the exact spot that they're in. The ladder truck is 8 feet 4 inches wide and the engine is 7 feet 8 inches wide. And I'm seeing a 12-foot, right by 130 Forest Home Drive, or 12, 14 feet, that necks down pretty tightly in there. So again, any parking on the byway really hinders our access to it. I think I've made it clear in emails and statements that we will make it work, but the fire department will not be held responsible for lack of access if there are cars parked along the roadway. And we will do our best to get the job done as our training allows. But if we can't get access to houses, then we can't take care of emergencies in them. And as I continuously state, and I know that this is very difficult for everybody, but the best option for the fire department would be no parking at all along the roadway. With that being said, I will answer any questions or I will duck out.
Chief, one question. In the village, there are houses that are set back off the road, in some cases quite a distance, and you're dealing with driveways. How do you're able to manage those situations where you don't have a 20-foot wide driveway to get up? Do you change your operations in those types of situations, or do you have contingencies?
Yes, we would take those situations in hand. We would get as close as we could. We would do exactly what we would do on the byway, and we would stretch a supply line with a manifold and attack lines, and it would take a while to set that up as it would on the byway. The driveway distances in the village are not the distances that we're talking about here on the byway. That is a very long stretch of hose. 5-inch hose is extremely heavy. So if we have to stretch it down either end and pull that hose all the way in, it's heavy. It takes multiple people to pull more than 2 or 3 lengths of hose and get the operation set up. So there's just a delay. And as long as everybody understands that if there are cars parked and we can't gain access to the byway, then we will do everything that we have trained to do to make the operation go as smoothly as possible. And we do try this. Everybody, as I've said multiple times over the past 20 years to many groups, that takes time. And in the case of an emergency, time is property. Any other questions?
Chief, does your fire department provide EMT services or ambulatory services, or is that a private service?
We do. We have a ALS first response unit. My full-time job, I'm a paramedic with the local ambulance agency. And so, yes, again, any access. We've been probably on the byway more often for EMS issues than for fire issues, knock on wood. And ambulance access is tight sometimes, but you can generally get an ambulance through from either end. But again, an ambulance is much smaller than the fire truck. So our first response unit is a Suburban. So that can really tool along and get many places. And the ambulance is not much wider than the Suburban, so we can get that places as well. So from the EMS standpoint, if there's cars parked along, we can probably, it's more, access is easier with the smaller vehicles. But we're talking fire trucks.
Okay. One other question. I saw somewhere in one of the communications that the town was going to look at adjusting the guardrail by the Forest Home Bridge. One is that.
It's funny. That was my third thing that I had written down on my pad of paper. What is the status of that?
Yeah, so that was one suggestion. I guess I see the town supervisor is here, or Mr. Mosley. Is there somebody from the town would like to comment about the possibility of adjusting the guardrail at the Forest Home Bridge so that it's the northeastern portion of the byway would be better accessed by the fire department? Is that a?
I can attempt to speak to that. Again, Marty Mosley at the Town of Ithaca, Director of Code Enforcement. We did ask our highway superintendent or DPW superintendent to take a look at this, and to date, I don't know where that stands currently. But he was going to make some inquiries as far as the legality of adjusting that component.
Okay. And would the town support a change of that if that's technically feasible?
Yeah, so this is Rod Howe, Supervisor. Yes, we would support, and I believe, Marty, that what I heard Joe Talbot say is he wanted to touch base with George, I thought, George Tamborelli. But it's something that we definitely are willing to look into and hopefully can address.
Right. Mr. Howe, just state your name and address for the court reporter.
Rod Howe, 126 Judd Falls Road.
Thank you. All right, let's see. I've got a couple hands up. Let's go to Mr. and Mrs. Mueller. You have your hands up. You have some additional comments?
Yes, Dana Mueller, 20 The Byway. I want to reference Marty Mosley's a variance remark saying when I did the remodeling of my house, the construction renovation, he said I was expanding the footprint of my building. And I didn't do that. So I was wondering, why did I get the variance to begin with?
It's based on the definition of addition and the energy code. And the basis for the definition of the energy code identifies that the expansion of the conditioned area is in fact an addition.
I didn't quite understand what that meant.
Yeah, we don't have an addition.
We don't have an addition. All we did is renovate our house. We didn't change the footprint of our house. So I'm wondering, why did I get the variance in the first place?
Okay, I'll let you. I think that's something you can sort out offline because I think that variance has already been granted. So I'll let that go. Let me go to Mr. Let's see who else we have. Mr. Holden, you have your hand up, sir.
Hi, this is Jeff Holden at number 11 The Byway. I just wanted to correct the misstatements made about the measurements. Just so everyone knows, I have a master's degree in engineering. I've taken drafting classes, in fact, a year of drafting classes back when they used to do it on paper. And I have a stamped scale drawing from the surveyor, and I have a caliper, a digital caliper. And if you look at the center line of the road, it extends well underneath by 3 feet or more underneath the hedgerow at number 16, which Fire Chief Tamburello pointed out was an impediment to him clearing that turn. Again, that's not solved by parking. That's a weed or a bush or a hedge that grows by 3 feet a year that has very little maintenance on it. And then I think the millstone, I'm not sure who was referring to the millstone, maybe that was Chief Tamburello, but there's an ancient, I don't know what you call older than historic, but a well there that was the well for the entire community before we had water service. And I think there was a suggestion that we remove that. It has a tree in it, so it's not being used as a well, but I'm surprised that that's the thing we're going to take away first, the historic well, rather than cut back the bushes, which are overgrown. So I'm not sure if there's any other points that I'm forgetting to address, but I stand by my measurements. I think Katerina Kral and Tim Ardogan are both licensed, trained architects, and they were also measuring, and I think that they could stand by the measurements that I listed and made. So, but I stand by my measurements, and they're conservative, if anything.
All right, Mr. Maines, you have your hand up.
Thank you. This is Russ Maines. I guess for purposes of preserving the record, I just wanted to make sure there's a statement by my clients, Ms. Gardner and Mr. Holden, dated July 12th. Looks like an email to Mr. Tamburello. It's labeled Exhibit 1. I just wanted to confirm that that's in the record. And secondly, I wanted to submit the survey map and the deed that I mentioned in my earlier comments as an exhibit. It's a true and accurate copy of a document taken from the county clerk's office. I'm not quite sure if there's a way to submit that electronically, but I have it at my fingertips if I can do that.
Yeah, if you could send that by email to Mr. Tutulio. Mr. Holden may have his email address, but if you could share that to Mr. Tutulio can distribute to the board.
Okay, I will do that. I'll submit it by email to Mr. Tutulio. I did, if I'm understanding Mr. Chief Tamburello's comments correctly, I don't want to mischaracterize them. His comments are, as I understand them, he is concerned and he's indicating that the access is tight and he wants to disclaim any liability if he can't get in there. I respect that, and I think all of what he said is reasonable. This neighborhood has been there a very long time. It has had these issues, but as I read the deed, everybody has access to the byway, and based on my visual inspection, as well as comments I've heard from my folks, there are some shrubs and hedges that are adjacent to the opponent's property. There's a requirement that everybody has use of the byway, and if the hedges on the opponent's property is affecting access, then we're going to have to address that. And frankly, they should not impede anybody's ability to get in there. But I do think that the plan that was submitted adequately addresses the concerns that Chief Tamburello raised about the access. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maines. Let's see. Ms. Gardner, you had your hand raised. Do you have comments regarding your petition?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize because I'm in an airport and I don't have a working microphone. I also wanted to, let me state my name for the record. It's Mary Gardner. I live at 11 The Byway. And so my application is joint with that of Jeff Holden. residents. And I also wanted to address what I consider to be misstatements in Mr. Bensel's statements to the board. In addition to what Jeff said about the measurements, I wanted to point out the measurements on the map between number 10 and number 16 are based on our surveys. And to the extent that it looks like the road, I apologize for the background noise, that the road looks narrower there, it is because according to the surveys, number 16 has permitted their hedges to grow onto the road by a significant portion. That's true around the fire hydrant as well, which I understand from their survey should be on the edge of the road, not back several feet. The other point I wanted to make is that we do not park 6 or 8 feet into the road in those parking spaces. And we every day see large delivery trucks easily clearing around the corner between our houses. So I believe that was an exaggeration. And the other point I really wanted to emphasize is that these parking spaces, we have used them since we moved into our house. It is where my family parks when they come visit for holidays or for other extended periods of time. These have been overnight parking spaces, and we desperately need them for that purpose because otherwise we can't have visitors, family visit us. And so this is not a self-imposed hardship. These spaces have been in use this entire time. And we also undertook and completed our renovation of the barn on the understanding that we would be able to use those 2 spaces with the town's permission, because again, we would not have received the building permit in February 2021. The town did not believe we had 4 parking spaces between the 2 residences, ours and the barn unit. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, next we have Elizabeth Sanders. You have your hand up. Do you state your name and your address for the record? You're muted. Ms. Sanders, you're muted. You have your hand up.
Elizabeth Sanders, 16 the Byway. Seth is my son. We live there with my husband, the 3 of us together. He had his hand up first. Could I let him speak and then I will speak?
Okay. Mr. Bensel, you can go ahead, make your comments. And try to make them brief. We've kind of, we need to keep this hearing moving. A lot of people want to speak.
Understand. There are a few things I want to be very clear about. The joint parking proposal, which again, the owners of 11 the Byway have signed off on, does not even claim that fire engines can pass a vehicle parked in front of their home. It simply states that fire engines pass vehicles parked in front of 4 and 20. So they're not even claiming fire engine access is possible when a vehicle is parked in front of their home, and I believe it is definitely not. Again, we supplied a photograph of what that looks like. There have been a lot of misstatements about the width of the byway and what is shown on different surveys. Our hedges are not on any survey. Neither our survey nor 11's nor either of our deeds says what the width of the byway right-of-way is. The deed for 11 the byway does in fact show that the edge of pavement begins at the base of their stone steps, which are 4 feet further out into the road from the back wall of their parking space. So it is based on that I have stated their parking space is 4 feet off road. That's based on their survey. Cars are clearly wider than that, and they park several feet out from the wall. So they end up being, as I've said, 5 or 6 feet into the road. I did not say 6 or 8 feet. Delivery trucks can sometimes pass and sometimes not. Often deliveries are made by UPS or FedEx on foot. The truck actually parks farther back down the byway because they cannot pass a car parked in front of 11 the byway. Delivery trucks, of course, are also narrower and much shorter than fire engines. Our hedges, as we stated in our proposal, we would be willing to trim back a little if 11 the byway were no longer going to park into the street, meaning if they either had fully off-street parking developed or they simply used their garage. For us to trim back our hedges now would serve no purpose because a fire engine could not pass a vehicle parked in front of 11 the byway or 10 for that matter. We have always maintained the greenery around the fire hydrant. Again, Mr. Tamborel told me personally on September 27th that the area around the fire hydrant was adequately clear for access. Now, Our hedges do provide us with privacy. The situation has dramatically changed for us. We've lived at our address, 16 the Byway, for 30 years. But 2 years ago, 11 the Byway built an accessory dwelling unit across the street from us. So what was a garage is now another home. So obviously our privacy situation has deteriorated a lot. We have windows now looking into bedrooms and bathrooms that never had a dwelling across the street, about 30 feet away from them. So we do value our privacy, but we would sacrifice some of that if, again, parking was not permitted in front of 10 or 11 the Byway, because in that case, it would make a difference. A few more feet. Right now, a few more feet trimmed off our hedges would make no difference for emergency vehicle access at all. The old well at the northwest corner of 11 the Byway, it is serving no purpose. There's a tree growing out of it. The northwest edge of that well could be removed. I don't think that well is particularly historic. There's no historic marker of any kind. And that turn would become easier for all vehicles, but especially large vehicles like fire engines, if the northwest corner of that well was removed. We would invite the town or state or a surveyor jointly compensated by all residents of the Byway to come and take measurements of the road because, again, the measurements on the map provided with the joint parking proposal are simply inaccurate between 16 and 11 the Byway. And perhaps the best way to resolve this disagreement would simply to have an official party come and take these measurements. I would also like to point out we have a survey for 10 the Byway. It is not submitted with our proposal, but we can send it by email. That clearly shows what is marked as the edge of gravel for the the southern edge of our yard is many feet south of the fire hydrant and utility pole. It is not, as Jeff Holden stated, the case that the northern edge of the Byway runs along the fire hydrant, and indeed, people don't typically place a fire hydrant and a utility pole in a street, so that makes sense that the edge of the Byway is several feet south of those objects. Okay. So I just, in summary, and just state again, we are in the position where we literally have no access to fire protection in front of our home. If we have a fire, if 11 the Byway and 10 the Byway are able to park in the street, and we don't park in the street ourselves, we are not asking for 10 and 11 to be held to any higher standard than ourselves. We are saying that these three residences, we all have off-street parking available, and we should use that and not compromise emergency vehicle access for our convenience. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back to Ms. Sanders. You had some comments you want to make, and please, if you're adding to the comments, if you're just repeating what's already been repeated.
I'm not repeating, this is new. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. One of the numerous errors in the joint parking proposal, it says that they have no legal access around behind. That is not the case. And Rod Howe and a number of other officials received this message from Todd Bittner and Christopher Dunn, who are the Cornell officials who control that land. They say, I'm just reading from their letter, from Cornell's letter, fire access and safety is a requirement along the byway, which measures approximately 14 feet at its narrowest and 20 feet at its widest. In the past, Cornell has provided access for adjacent property owners across an abandoned road that ran behind the westernmost residence on the byway. Cornell supports continuing this practice, which allows adjacent landowners to reach the back of their respective properties. Okay, so it is not the case that they have no permission. They do have a legal position, and this is in writing from Cornell itself. I want to mention something that we're completely ignoring here. And as an environmentalist, someone who taught a course in governing green cities for years at Cornell, we've got to consider the environmental effects of greenery. The notion that we should cut down our hedges to allow people to make more money renting their properties it just doesn't really make sense if we are concerned with climate change and with environmental issues. Greenery absorbs carbon dioxide. It gives homes to birds and to pollinating insects. It's very important. And there's a third thing that's really important with that greenery, and that is the stream setback rule, which is a law. Because we are at the bottom of the byway, the lowest point, right? Water that comes down the byway, if you take away our hedges, you cut them back severely. And as the owner of number 4 wanted to do, cut down the bushes and the trees and let the fire trucks drive through the front of our yard. That is not legal, and it would be a really terrible environmental thing. What happens is water then, without those hedges and bushes and trees, water would flow much more rapidly and in greater quantity into our house, into our basement, and then it would go through from the back of our house to the creek, to Fall Creek.
Ms. Sanders, I need to respectfully, I need to respectfully interrupt you. You're getting away from the subject we're focusing on, which is the fire access.
No, but this is the cost to us, but it is also the cost to the town, to a much larger constituency, because if the creek bank collapses because of the water that is no longer held back by the hedges. That's why the hedges are there, and they've been there for well over 30 years. They were there in that height when we came. We said we would cut them back a little bit. That would be a shame for the population of birds and particularly for holding the water and not allowing the collapse of the stream bank. We have to consider those things. So they're much broader consequences.
Ms. Sanders, I apologize to interrupt you, but we just need to focus on this. One is the appeal of the variance. You're kind of getting outside of the scope of this board's purview. So I'm going to move on to, we're going to just ask one more question. Let's see, Ms. Levine, you haven't come back to ask additional comment. You have some additional comments. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Caroline Levine for the Byway. I just wanted to mention that the request for the variance was a common request made by number 4, number 6, number 10, number 11, and number 20. We have consensus on that, and I understand we have support from 130 Forest Home Drive, as well as it's in the interests of number 2, the Byway, to have a parking space because they have no off-street parking. So I just wanted to reiterate that this comes from the majority of residents on the Byway.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Crawl, you had your hand up. I don't believe you've had a chance to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Katrina Crow. We're on 10 the Byway, so we're also supporting, and we drafted the proposal with our neighbors. Unfortunately, we're not part of this meeting, so I assume there's going to be another one pertaining to this matter. But I just wanted to correct a comment that Ms. Sanders made about access around kind of this abandoned road, back of the house. So yes, there is an easement that allows, from Cornell and also from us, that allows adjacent properties to access the back of their houses. But adjacent to this street is actually only us, number 10, number 12, our neighbor, and number 6. So number 4 and number 2 don't have access to the back of the house. The gravel drive kind of stops in a little cul-de-sac behind number 6. So there would also have to be significantly kind of cutting back of trees and bushes to grant access to the back of the house. So really there's no opportunity for number 4 and number 2, for example, to park behind their houses. So they only have the street parking.
Thank you. That's new information that we didn't have. I appreciate you providing that. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Hubner's, you have your hands raised, and then we'll.
Yeah, this is Justin Steinberg from 6th the Byway. I just wanted to say, because it seemed like the discussion was getting sidetracked a little bit, and there's sort of a he said, she said, so I just wanted to call attention again to the board to the issue at hand, that there are several houses that have requested a variance, and collectively We've tried to work within conditions that are highly imperfect, recognizing the concerns of the fire department. And we've come up with this proposal. It's taken us several months, and we've worked collaboratively to make a plan that requires sacrifice on all of our parts. And I guess I just wanted to call attention to the ways in which we really want our considerations to be heard and not to be overshadowed by the kind of back and forth that you've been subjected to about the exact width and various, I think, distractions the last half hour or so. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to call things back to the issue at hand, which is the variance that several of us have requested and the proposal that we put together that involves some sacrifice and recognition of the concerns of the fire department, and that we're doing our best to try and ensure that there's fire safety and that there's not serious hardships for the owners of these houses. So anyway, not new information, but I just wanted to call attention to that.
Okay, thank you. And I think that wraps up all our statements. I think we've, let me check with the board.
Ms. Sanders, if she could send a letter from Cornell.
Okay. Ms. Sanders, Mr. Tuduli asked that if you have a letter from Cornell, if you could just forward that because it was part of your statement. If you want
I do, but Rod Howe and several other town officials got that letter too. It's addressed to them.
Okay. And I think the statement by Ms. Kroll confirmed what you said, but it clearly states that it's, she's reading from deeds relative to her property that does have access around, but not to, I believe it's 2 and 4 were not included in access. It seems like 6 and 10 did have rear access. So I understood it. I think everybody in the board understood that as well.
That's correct.
Thank you. Anything additional, Mr. Tutulio? Nope. Okay. Anything else?
This is Rod. Can I just say something?
Sure. Go ahead, Mr. Howe.
I'm pretty sure that Cornell did send the letter directly into Mr. DiTullio. I was told that they had sent it. So I think you got it quite some time ago.
Okay. All right. He's shaking his head looking, so we'll see if we can find that. Okay. I think we've heard all the testimony we need to hear. Unless I haven't heard anything new that we don't know. I think we're ready to take a short recess and do some deliberation, and then we'll be back to present our findings. Okay. So we're going to go off the record.
You are on the record.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I apologize taking longer than I thought this would be, but we're trying to bundle all these cases together. Speaking for myself, I think I have concurrence from the board. This is a challenging situation for us in trying to find a solution that we think or we hope will work for everybody. And I also want to say that our decisions based on some expectations, based on testimony here from the applicants about doing what they can to support a decision, and that would include the town of Ithaca. Talking particularly about, which the fire chief brought up, was about the guardrail at the end of the bridge that comes in on the west side to improve access, which actually gets you secondary access into the byway instead of just one way into it. So we're hoping all these pieces come together and will work for everybody. Though I'm sure some people may have some concerns. So with that, I'm going to make the following motion in regard to petition number 2022-0350. This is 20 the byway. Second, let me bring it up. So I have right case in front of me. Everyone but the right one. There we go. The chair would make the following motion. This is the matter of 2022-0350, the party of Ann and Dana Mueller. The petition pertains to a variance for allowing parking on a fire department access road, which is a private road that is loop connecting Forest Home Drive located in the town of Ithaca, county of Tompkins, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.4, obstructions of fire apparatus access roads, which states that apparatus access roads shall not be obstructed in any manner, including the parking of vehicles. The minimum widths and clearances established in sections 503.2.1 and 503.2.2 shall be maintained at all times. 503.2.1 dimensions fire apparatus access roads shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire department access road, which is a private road that is loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the driving lane to approximately 11 feet. In the finding of facts, 1, the subject petition pertains to a single-family residence on a private lane which services 8 residences located at 20 The Byway, Town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. 2, the proposed private lane subject to this petition has been properly classified for 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Section 503.1.1 fire apparatus access roads. 3, the petitioner states in the narrative Exhibit 1 that for the past 60 years, the private lane has allowed parking for vehicles along its length without incident. 4, the petitioner states in the narrative Exhibit 1 and in accompanying photos Exhibit 2 that the fire lane can be maintained via snow removal even when automobiles are parked along the lane. The petitioner states in the narrative that the road services 8 houses and that several residences park along the lane, and the new no parking signage was not initiated by the fire department. 6, the petitioner states that the narrative that prohibiting parking is a negligible benefit and that where residents regularly park along the lane, the minimum width is approximately 11. The petitioner states in the narrative that all 8 residents are within 150 feet of Forest Home Drive, a public road, and the section 503.1.1 states that fire apparatus access roads shall extend to within 150 feet of all portions of exterior walls. Petitioner states in the narrative that emergency response vehicles have been able to navigate the lane to provide emergency medical assistance in the near past. 9, the petitioner states in the narrative the town of Ithaca zoning requirements require 2 off-street parking spaces and that most residents along the byway would not meet this requirement, and such restriction may cause conflict among the residents on the byway. 10, the petitioner states in the narrative and supported by accompanying satellite photographs, Exhibit 4, the byway is restricted by natural elements and enlarging the width of some of the locations is physically practicable. 11, the authority having jurisdiction, the town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement, had noted that as a fire apparatus access road, the lane is to remain unobstructed per Part 1225 New York State Fire Code, Section 503.4, which prohibits parking on a fire apparatus access road. 12, the byway has been subject to prior petitions, 2021-0488 Mueller and 2021-0519 Holden Gardner, granting relief for fire apparatus access road reduction in a width to present width, which is less than the required 20 feet and closer to approximately 18 feet width. 13, the local fire chief has provided the following comments. The byway is a very narrow, poorly maintained private road, and road is barely wider than fire trucks, that we can drive in some areas not wide enough at any point to deploy stabilizing jacks on the ladder truck. And the access to Firestone Drive across from Judd Falls Road would be the main access point for the houses on the street, and that the far end of the road turns to an unmaintained dirt road that exits to a very tight turn at the bridge over over Fall Creek. The roadway makes a sharp 90-degree bend with a very narrow 15-foot road with that, even unobstructed, takes a high level of skill from the driver to manage the turn. There are often cars parked along the road, and during the recent renovation work being done for some of the homeowners, there was a large dumpster parked along the road for an extended period of time. While we train often on accessing difficult areas to fight fire, deploying apparatus, appliances, and attack posts to the byway will require extra time with no obstructions. But if we are blocked by cars parked along the roadway, it will take more time as we formulate a plan to stretch attack hoses over long distances. This may add extra time to the initial attack and make it more dangerous for us to initiate initial attack and rescue operations. From the standpoint of the fire department, we would like to see the roadway improved, maintained, and clear access along the roadway. It would be the preference of the fire department that the entire byway be designated fire lane for fire department access. 14, the local code enforcement official has been consulted in this matter and does not support granting the variance under Part 1205. In conclusions of law, strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardships, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive, unreasonable economic burden. Would inhibit achievement if some other important public policy would be physically or legally impractical and would entail a change of site as producing negligible additional benefit consonant with the purpose of the code. Wherefore it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCR Part 1225, Section 503.4 be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions: that a 12-foot fire department access road on the byway be maintained along their property line, and it is the applicant's responsibility to manage parking and snow storage along the byway such that a 12-foot fire department access road is maintained. In conclusion, this decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. And so I move.
I second.
Ms. Swistak seconds. I'll poll the board. Mr. Hinfelter?
Aye.
Mr. Garlock?
Aye.
Ms. Swistak?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. 4 ayes, no nays. Variance is granted.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. In a comment, I just would say that you had made statements and testimony which I did not include in this ruling, that you were working on doing some adjustments to the street to widen it and provide better access. So I believe that this should be in line with your offer that you proposed to the board.
And that is correct.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We will now have a motion on our next case. Mr. Garlock?
Yes. Petition, I'd like to make a motion with respect to petition number 2022-0383, the aggrieved party, Caroline Levine. The petition pertains to a variance for allowing parking on a fire apparatus access road which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive located in the town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.1, where required, which states that fire apparatus access roads shall be provided and maintained in accordance with Section 503.1.1 through 503.1.3 and Appendix D. Petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the drive lane to approximately 11 feet wide. Relief is also requested from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.1.1, Buildings and Facilities, which states that approved fire apparatus access roads shall be provided for every facility, building, or portion of a building hereafter constructed or moved into or within the jurisdiction. The fire apparatus access road shall comply with the requirements of this section and shall extend to within 150 feet of all portions of the facility and all portions of the exterior walls of the first story of the building as measured by an approved route around the exterior of the building or facility. Petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the drive lane to approximately 11 feet wide. Relief is also requested from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.1.2, Additional Access, which states that the fire code official is authorized to require more than one fire apparatus access road based on the potential for impairment of a single road by vehicle congestion, condition of terrain, climatic conditions, or other factors that can limit access. Petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the drive lane to approximately 11 feet wide. The board makes the following findings. Subject petition 1. The subject petition pertains to a single-family residence on a private lane which services 8 residences located at 4 The Byway, Town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. 2. The proposed private lane subject to this petition has been properly classified per 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Section 503.1.1 Fire Apparatus Access Roads. 3. The petitioner states that for as long as they have lived at the present address, that the private lane has allowed parking of vehicles along its length without incident. 4. The road services 8 houses and that several of the residents park along the lane, and that the new no parking signage was not initiated by the fire department, but the town code department directed the installation of the fire lane signs. 5. The authority having jurisdiction, the Town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement, had noted that the fire apparatus access road, the lane is to remain unobstructed per Part 1225 New York State Fire Code, Section 503.4, which prohibits parking on a fire apparatus access road. 6. The byway has been subject to prior petitions 2021-0488 Mueller and 2021-0519 Holden Gardner, granting relief for a fire apparatus access road reduction in width to present width, which is less than the required 20 feet and closer to approximately 18 feet in width. 7. The local fire chief has provided the following comments. A, the byway is a very narrow and poorly maintained private road, and the road is barely wider than the fire trucks that we drive, and in some areas not wide enough at any point to deploy the stabilizing jacks on the ladder truck. B, the access of Forest Home across from Fall Creek, Judd Falls Road would be the main access point for the houses on the street, and the far end of the road turns to unmaintained dirt that exits to a very light turn at the bridge over Fall Creek. C, the roadway makes a sharp 90-degree bend with a very narrow 15 feet road width that, even unobstructed, takes a high level of skill from the driver to manage the turn. D, there are often cars parked along the road, and during the recent renovation work being done for some of the homeowners, there was a large dumpster parked along the road for an extended period of time. E, while we train often on accessing difficult areas to firefight, deploying apparatus, appliances, and attack hoses to the byway will require extra time with no obstructions. But if we are blocked by cars parked along the roadway, it will take more time as we formulate a plan to stretch attack hoses over long distances. This may add extra time to the initial attack and make it more dangerous for us to initiate interior attack or rescue operations. F, from the standpoint of the fire department, we would like to see the roadway improved and maintain and clear access along the entire roadway. It would be the preference of the fire department that the entire byway be designated as a fire lane for fire department access. 8, the local code official has been consulted in this matter and does not support nor does not support the granting of this variance under Part 1205. In view of the above findings, the board denies the appeal for the petitioner and therefore sustains the determination of the code enforcement official. For the variance, in accordance with the above findings, the board finds that in the case before it, strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden, would not achieve its intended objective, would inhibit achievement of some other important public policy, would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Section 503.1, 503.1.1, and 503.1.2 be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, that a 12-foot fire department access road on the byway be maintained along their property line. It is the applicant's responsibility to manage parking and snow storage along the byway such that a 12-foot fire department access road is maintained. And that all other aspects of this building and construction shall be in compliance with the applicable codes, rules, and regulations. This decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Mr. Anfelter, second. I'll pull the board. Ms. Swistak. Mr. Anfelter.
Aye.
Mr. Garlock.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 4 ayes, no nays. Variance is granted. Chair would like to make the following motion in regard to petition 2022-0379. Party is Jeffrey Holden and Mary Gardner. Petition pertains to a variance for allowing parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive located in the town of Ithaca, county of Tompkins, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.4, obstruction of fire apparatus access road, which states that fire apparatus access road shall not be obstructed in any manner, including the parking of vehicles. The minimum widths and clearances established in sections 503.2.1 and 503.2.2 shall be maintained at all times. 503.2.1 dimensions fire apparatus access road shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet. Petitioner is seeking relief for the variance to allow parking on the fire apparatus access road, which is part of a private road that is loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the driving lane to approximately 11 feet. In the findings of fact, the subject petition pertains to a single-family residence on a private dwelling which serves 8 residences located at 11 the Byway, Town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. 2, the proposed private lane subject to this petition has been properly classified for 19 NYCIR, Part 1225, Section 503.1.1, fire apparatus access roads. 3, the petitioner states in the narrative Exhibit 1 that for the past 60 years, the private lane has allowed parking of vehicles along its length without incident. Petitioner states in the narrative Exhibit 1 and in the company photos Exhibit 2 that the lane can be maintained via snow removal even when automobiles are parked along the lane. 5, the petitioner states in the narrative that the road serves 8 houses, and that several of the residents park along the lane, and that the new no parking signage was not initiated by the fire department. 6, the petitioner states that in the narrative that the prohibited fire parking has a negligible benefit in that where residences regularly park along the lane, the minimum width is approximately 11 feet. 7, the petitioner states in the narrative that all 8 residents are within 150 feet from Forest Home Drive, the public road, and the section 503.1.1 states the fire department access road shall extend to within 100 feet of all portions of the exterior walls. 8, the petitioner states in the narrative that emergency response vehicles have been able to navigate the lane to provide emergency medical assistance in the near past. 9, the petitioner states in the narrative that the town of Ithaca's zoning requirements required 2 off-street parking spaces, and that most residents along the byway would not meet this requirement, and such restriction may cause conflict amongst the residents on the byway. 10, the petitioner states in the narrative, and supported by accompanying satellite photographs, Exhibit 4, the byway is restricted by natural elements, and enlarging the width in some locations is physically practicable. The authority having jurisdiction, 11, the authority having jurisdiction, the town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement had noted that as a fire apparatus access road, the lane is to remain unobstructed per Part 1225 New York State Fire Code, Section 503.4, which prohibits parking on a fire apparatus access road. 12, the byway has been subject to prior petitions, 2021-0488 Muller and 2021-0519 Holden Gardner, granting relief for a fire apparatus access road reduction in the width to present width, which is less than the required 20 feet and closer to approximately 18 feet width. 13, the local fire chief has provided the following comments. A, the byway is a narrow and poorly maintained private road. The road is barely wider than fire trucks that we drive, and in some cases, not wide enough at any point deploying stabilizing jacks on the ladder truck. B, the access of Forest Home across Judd Falls Road would be the main access point for houses on the street, and the far end of the road turns to unmaintained dirt that exits to a very tight turn at the bridge over Fall Creek. C, the roadway makes a sharp 90-degree bend with a narrow 15-foot road width that, even unobstructed, takes high level of skill from the driver to manage the turn. D, there are often cars parked along the road, and during the recent renovation work being done for some of the homeowners, there was a large dumpster parked along the road for an extended period of time. E, while we train often on accessing difficult areas to fight fire, deploying apparatus, appliances, and tack hose to the byway will require extra time with no obstructions. But if we were blocked by cars parked along the roadway, it will take more time as we formulate a plan to stretch attack hoses over long distances. This may add extra time to the initial attack and make it more dangerous for us to initiate interior attack or rescue operations. F, from the standpoint of the fire department, we would like to see the roadway improved and maintained and clear access along the entire roadway. It would be the preference of the fire department that the entire byway be designated a fire lane for fire department access. 14, the local code enforcement official has been consulted in this matter and is not supporting granting the variance. In conclusion of law, grant strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, and would otherwise be unwarranted because of such would create an excessive unreasonable economic burden, would inhibit achievement of some other important policy factors, public policy, and would be physically or legally impractical, and would entail a change to site as to produce negligible additional benefit consonant with the purpose of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCR Part 1221, Section 503.4, be and hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, that a 12-foot fire department access road on the byway be maintained along the property line. It is the applicant's responsibility to maintain parking and snow storage along the byway such that a 12-foot fire department access road is maintained. And 2, that an adequate turning radius is maintained adjacent to the property such that a pumper truck can maneuver unobstructed around the corner of the byway. The turning radius will be determined by the Town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement in consultation with the Cayuga Heights Fire Chief. Therefore, this decision is limited to the specific building application before it, as contained within the petition, and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plan specifications presented in support of this application. And I so move. I have a second.
I second.
Ms. Swistak seconds. Poll the board. Mr. Garlock.
Aye.
Mr. Hinterfelter.
Aye.
Ms. Swistak.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 4 ayes, no nays. The variance is granted. Mr. Garlock.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion with respect to petition number 2022-0385, aggrieved party Carolina Hubner. The petition pertains to an appeal variance for allowing parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive located in the town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.4, obstruction of fire apparatus access roads, which states that the fire apparatus access road shall not be obstructed in any manner, including the parking of vehicles. The minimum widths and clearances established in sections 503.2.1 and 503.2.2 shall be maintained at all times. 503.2.1 dimensions. Fire apparatus access road shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet. Petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the drive lane to approximately 11 feet wide. Board makes the following findings. 1, the subject petition pertains to a single-family residence on a private lane which services 8 residences located at 6 The Byway, Town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. 2, the proposed private lane subject to this petition has been properly classified per 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Section 503.1.1 Fire Apparatus Access Roads. 3, the petitioner states that for as long as they have lived at the present address, that the private lane has allowed parking of vehicles along its length without incident. 4, the petitioner states that the previous owner said, "I permitted to park 1 car on the byway in front of my house." Given the layout of this neighborhood surrounded by a creek on 3 sides and a larger road, Forest Home Drive, on the 4th side, there are simply no other areas available for legally parking nearby. In short, the ban on parking on the byway leaves most residents with no physically or legally practicable alternatives for parking. Instead, the ban creates an excessive burden on most residents. 5, the road services 8 houses in that several of the residents park along the lane, and that the new no parking signage was not initiated by the fire department, but the town code department directed the installation of the fire lane signs. 6, the authority having jurisdiction, the Town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement, had noted that as a fire apparatus access road, the lane is to remain unobstructed per Part 1225 New York State Fire Code, Section 503.4, which prohibits parking on a fire apparatus access road. 7, the byway has been subject to prior petitions, 2021-0488 Mueller and 2021-0519 Holden Gardner, granting relief for a fire apparatus access road reduction in width to present width, which is less than the required 20 feet and closer to approximately 18 feet in width. 8, the local fire chief has provided the following comments. A, the byway is a very narrow and poorly maintained private road, and the road is barely wider than the fire trucks that we drive, and in some areas, not wide enough at any point to deploy the stabilizing jacks on the ladder truck. B, the access of Forest Home across from Judd Falls Road would be the main access point for the houses on the street, and the far end of the road turns to unmaintained dirt that it exists to a very tight turn at the bridge over Fall Creek. C, the roadway makes a sharp 90-degree bend with a very narrow 15-foot wide road that, even unobstructed, takes a high level of skill from the driver to manage the turn. D, there are often cars parked along the road, and during the recent renovation work being done for some of the homeowners, there was a large dumpster parked along the road for an extended period of time. E, while we train often on accessing difficult areas to fight fire, deploying apparatus, appliances, and attack hoses to the byway will require extra time with no obstructions. But if we are blocked by cars parked along the roadway, it will take more time as we formulate a plan to stretch attack hoses over long distances. This may add extra time to the initial attack and make it more dangerous for us to initiate interior attack or rescue operations. F, from the standpoint of the fire department, we would like to see the roadway improved and maintained and clear access along the entire roadway. It would be the preference of the fire department that the entire byway be designated a fire lane for fire department access. 9, the local code official has been consulted in this matter and does not support the granting of the variance under Part 1205. As it relates to the appeal, in view of the above findings, the board denies the appeal for the petitioner and therefore sustains the determination of the code enforcement official. As it relates to the variance, in accordance with the above findings, the board finds that in the case before it, strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Sections 503.4 B, and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, that a 12-foot fire department access road on the byway be maintained along their property line. It is the applicant's responsibility to manage parking and snow storage along the byway such that a 12-foot fire department access road is maintained, and that all other aspects of this building and construction be in compliance with the applicable codes, rules, and regulations. This decision is limited specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. I so move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Stan Filter, seconds to Ms. Swistak.
Aye.
Ms. Jen Filter.
Aye.
Mr. Garlock. Aye. Chair votes aye. So we have 4 ayes, no nays. Variance, the appeal is denied, but the variance is granted. Okay, so I think that concludes the 4 cases we have. Let me go back to Mr. Dogan and Ms. Kroll. Are you still here? See you here.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, So, would you like to waive your right for a hearing and the board will render a decision on your application, or we can come back in December 8th and have a hearing and with any additional information you may have.
Yeah, so of course we would like that the same rights and the same conditions as they have been granted for the variances of the four neighbors apply to our property as well. So if that can be on record without the hearing, we're happy to waive the right for a hearing. If the hearing is necessary in order to put this on record and to kind of discuss the matter, we would like still to have the hearing.
Okay, I'm confused. Do you want a hearing or not? If you waive the hearing, we'll give you a decision. If you want to have a hearing, we can come back and talk about it next month. It's up to you.
I mean, we would like the same right that is given to our neighbors and the same conditions that apply to maintain the 12-foot clearance along our property line to apply to our property as well. If that can be on record kind of without the hearing, we're happy to waive the right.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would like the hearing.
All right. So that you're aware, there's one condition that applied to 11 that would apply to yours, and that's regarding the turning radius.
Yes.
And so location of where you park your car might affect that turning radius. So you would have to work with 11 and your neighbors and with the fire department and the code enforcement official to make sure we get that all sorted out. Is that okay?
Of course. Of
All
course,
right.
yes.
So on the record, you're willing to waive, just say in the affirmative, you're willing to waive your right to the hearing?
Yes, we are willing to waive the right for the hearing.
And Mr. Dogan is also there. Is he waiving his right to the hearing?
Yes, he's also there. He's coming. Sorry.
Okay. I just like to hear him.
Hello, this is Timur Dogan. I'm also happy to waive the right for a hearing.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay. In light of Timur Dogan and Katerina Kral waiving their right to hearing, the board would like to render the following decision, rendering the following decision in petition number 2022-0391. The aggrieved party is Timur Dogan and Katerina Kral. This petition and this motion in this petition pertains to a variance for allowing variance and actually an appeal for allowing parking on a fire apparatus road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive located in the town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 503.1, where required, which states that fire apparatus access roads shall be provided and maintained in accordance with Sections 503.1.1 through 503.1.3 and Appendix D. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire apparatus access road, which is a private road that is loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the driving lane to approximately 11 feet. 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Fire Code of New York, Section 503.1, buildings and facilities, which states that approved fire apparatus roads shall be provided for every facility, building, a portion of building thereafter constructed or moved into within the jurisdiction. Fire apparatus access roads comply with the conditions of this section and shall extend to within 150 feet of all portions of the facility or all portions of the exterior walls of the first story of a building as measured by an approved route around the exterior of the building or facility. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking on a fire department access road, which is a private road that is a loop connecting Forest Home Drive, reducing the driving lane to approximately 11 feet. 19 NYCR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code, Section 511.2, driveways, which states that driveways shall be provided with an egress door required by Section R311 of the Residential Code of New York State, is located more than 350 feet from a fire apparatus access road or public street. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow parking in fire department access road, which is a private road that is loop connecting Forest Home Drive. Petitioner contends that private drive is a shared driveway. In the findings of fact, subject petition pertains to single-family residence on a private lane which services 8 residents located at 10 the byway, Town of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. The proposed private lane subject to this petition has been properly classified for 19 NYCR R 1225, Section 503.1.1 fire apparatus access roads. Petitioner states that for as long as they have lived at the present address, that the private lane has allowed parking of vehicles along its entire length without incident. The road services 8 houses and that several of the residents park along the lane, and that the new no parking signage was not initiated by the fire department, but the Town of Ithaca Code Enforcement Officer directed the installation of the fire lane signs. 5, the authority having jurisdiction, the Town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement, had noted that as a fire apparatus access road, the lane is to remain unobstructed for Part 1225 New York State Fire Code, Section 503.4, which prohibits parking on a fire apparatus access road. 6, the byway has been subject to prior petitions 2021-0488 Muller and 2021-0519 Holden Gardner, granting relief for a fire apparatus access road reduction in width to present width, which is less than the required 20 feet and closer to approximately 18 feet in width. 7, the petitioner states in their narrative and accompanying photos, Exhibit 1, that the fire lane is their driveway and that is shared all residents, and that the carve-outs, recessed parallel parking spaces along the lane are their only parking spaces, and posting the lane would remove the required parking spaces. 8, the local fire chief has provided the following comments. A, the byway is very narrow and poorly maintained private road, and that the road is barely wider than the fire truck that we can drive, and in some cases not wide enough at any point to deploy the stabilizing jacks of the ladder truck. B, the access to Forest Home Drive across from Judd Falls Road would be the main access point for the houses on the street, and that the far end of the road turns to unmaintained dirt that exits to a very tight turn at the bridge over Fall Creek. C, the roadway makes a sharp 90-degree turn with very narrow 15-foot road width that, even unobstructed, takes a high level of skill from the driver to manage the turn. D, there are often cars parked along the road, and during the recent renovation work being done for some of the homeowners, there was a large dumpster parked along the road for an extended period of time. E, while we train often on accessing difficult areas to fight fire, deploying apparatus, appliances, and attack hoses to the byway will require extra time with no obstructions, but if we are blocked by cars along the roadway, it will take even more time as we formulate a plan to stretch attack hoses over long distances. This may add extra time to the initial attack and make it more dangerous for us to initiate interior attack and rescue operations. From the standpoint of the fire department, this is F, that from the standpoint of the fire department, we'd like to see the roadway improved, maintained, and clear access along the roadway. It would be the preference of the fire department that the entire byway be designated a fire lane for the department access. Should be for fire department access. 9, code enforcement official has been consulted in this matter and is not supportive of granting the variance on Part 1205. View of the above findings, the board denies the appeal and for the petitioner, therefore sustains the determination of the code enforcement official. The board does grant a variance. In so, strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship, or would otherwise be unwarranted because it would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be physically impracticable. Therefore, wherefore it is determined that the application for a variance for 19 NYCR Part 1225, Sections 503.1, 503.1.1, and 511.2 be and hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. That a 12-foot fire department access road on the byway be maintained along the property line, and it is the applicant's responsibility to manage parking and snow removal along the byway such that a 12-foot fire department access road is maintained. And that an adequate turning radius is maintained adjacent to the property such that a pumper truck can maneuver unobstructed around the corner of the byway. The turning radius will be determined by the Town of Ithaca Department of Code Enforcement in consultation with the Cuba Heights Fire Chief.
Thank you.
And that all other aspects of the code be adhered to, and that this decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval or any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application, and I so move. I'll poll the board, excuse me, I need a second.
I second.
Ms. Swistek seconds. Poll the board, Mr. Garlock.
Aye.
Mr. Infilter.
Yes.
Ms. Swistek.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5 ayes, no nays. The variance is granted.
4 ayes, no nays.
4 ayes, no nays. The variance is granted, the appeal is denied. I think that's all the business we have to do on this case. Mr. Tutulio, is there anything we left out?
No, sir, there isn't.
Okay.
May I
Thank you.
just request clarification on a few points?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, this 12-foot, for each of these variances granted, there's a condition that a 12-foot right-of-way be maintained. That is taking into account parking, is that correct?
Yes, the minimum is 12 feet, so they can put parking, they can park cars as long as there's a 12-foot space for fire apparatus to pass.
All right, so there must be 12 feet between the car and the other side of the road.
That's correct.
As a practical matter for 10 and 11, the byway, if they park as they're requesting in the road, that cannot be maintained, that 12-foot. It will be more like 8 feet between the
Excuse me,
vehicle.
Mr. Benzel, the board has ruled on the granting the variance, and now it is to the Town of Ithaca Code Enforcement Department to enforce whatever codes as this variance applies to. Okay?
So a vehicle would be illegally parked if there was less than 12 feet between the vehicle and the other side of the road?
That would be to the discretion of the code enforcement official of the town. Okay. That is all we have today. I'd like to thank everybody for their patience to this hearing, and I move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Garlock seconds.
Aye.
Mr. Enfelder, aye. Ms. Swistek.
Aye.
Mr. Garlock's aye. Chair's aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're off the record.